Okay, we're moving our way through, and now we're going to look at creating subtypes and attribute domains. By the way, I hope you did go back through and save your information. That's what I did in the last video. So again, you can read through this about we're defining rules on how the data can be edited and kind of how it behaves. They give some examples here, right? So suppose hydrant water laterals can have a pressure between 40 and 100 psi, while service laterals can have a pressure between 50 and 75 psi. So that's the whole concept of creating subtypes and attribute domains, that the same feature class can have different behaviors. And just as a reminder, these steps are all for ArcGIS Desktop, but it's not so bad. We'll be able to go through this. So the first thing they want you to do is right-click the Geodatabase and click Properties. So in this case, it's a little different. We're not going to find it under Properties, but we are going to find it under Domains. So I'm going to click that. And these are all the domains that currently exist in the Montgomery Geodatabase. And we're going to now click the first empty field and call it lat diameter for a new domain. And we're going to give it a description of type valid diameters for water laterals. I'm just going to copy that so I don't have to retype it. So we'll come in here and say lat diameter and valid diameters for water laterals. So now the next thing we're going to do is specify the properties of that particular domain. And if we go through here, again, read through this so you can see all the different things that domains do if you want to learn it. But under the properties, again, we're going to look at the field type and click float. Well, in this case, it's a different interface than what you've seen. They have an interface later on in the help file, but here we're going to turn this to a floating point value. And again, we can create a coded domain value or a range value, but in this case, they're going to be a coded value. So we're going to look in here, and they've got different things about the empty fields for code and code values. So let's follow along with this table. So this is our coded domain, and now here's our code, which you can see popping up over here. So this looks a little different than the older ArcGIS Desktop. And the first thing they want us to do is type in 13 and make it 13 inches. So we'll come in here and make that 13 and then type in 13 inches. And we go to the next one. And you can see what we have here. There's 10 and 10 inches. So I'll put in 10 and 10 inches. And we'll go to the next one. And you can see 8, 6, 4, 3, and so on. And I'll hit the tab, and that also allows me to go through. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video. Why don't you go and finish the rest of this off, and we'll come back. So we come through, and I've actually entered all of them, so the next thing I'm going to do is save that. So now I have, for my new domain name, the lat diameter, I have coded values that are associated with that. So we're going to go to the next stage, and here we're going to create subtypes, and we're going to associate the default values and the domains with them. So they want us to double click the water feature and open it and go to properties and go to the subtypes. We're going to do things a little differently. So let's go to the laterals again. So water type. We're going to go to laterals. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to design. And then I'm going to go into subtypes. So here's where things kind of deviate a little bit. So they're going to have you click a subtype field drop down, and they've got a whole bunch of tools and tables that do this. We're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have to create a new subtype. So under here, we're in the subtype tab. We're going to create a new one, and we have to select the field, and the field is type code. And what they're asking for now is under that code, we're going to go into description, and we're going to subtype code 0 for unknown. So 0, and we'll make that unknown. That's done. And I'm going to hit OK. So now we have the type code is established. And what I'm going to do is first save that next. So now I have my type code in there. And now as we go through, we're going to start to do the same things they're asking for. For the depth buried in the recorded underscore L field, we're going to make 0 our default value. So there's the H confined, which we did up here, and then depth buried and recorded L. So depth buried, the default value is, make that 0, and we have to find the recorded L, and here it is. Default value is 0 again. Let me make sure I type that in. There we go. The next thing they want us to do is click the default value field for diameter and type 8. So let's go find our diameter. Here we go. Let's type 8 in there. So now we have that. And then click the domain for diameter and click lat diameter. So the default domain is now lat diameter. Oops, I did it for the wrong one. There we go. Diameter. Lat diameter. So that's done, and the default value is 8. Moving on, we're going to click the material field and type DI for our default. So let's find material, and we'll make that DI. And then the next thing is click material in the domain dropdown. So we have that here, and we're going to go to material. And that turns into ductile iron. So those are the default values. And notice these are all the ones that we have available to us. So we're actually controlling some of the attributes. So you can see what this interface looks like compared to this one, right? So things are a little different, so we just have to keep track of this. And again, here's where it's going to get a little more confusing. We're going to add new subtype codes for this. So hydrant laterals, fire laterals, and service laterals. So where do you do that? Well, again, we're going to have to go back in here. And we've selected our type code here. Create and manage. So for type code, we're going to create, we have 0. We're going to have another one that is 1. And this one is going to be hydrant laterals. And I can hit a tab and then hit 2. And now we get to fire laterals. And then we'll go to 3. And the third one is service laterals. And that's done. And the next thing you're going to do is, and I'm not going to bother with the video, we're coming up on 10 minutes here. So set the default values for depth buried, recorded L, diameter, the same way we did for the unknown subtype. And we'll do the same thing for the hydrants, the hydrant lateral subtype. We'll set those as well. So we're going to skip down here to step 18, which is click the default subtype drop down. We don't really have that here, so and click service laterals. So what I'm going to do here for the type code is for service laterals, I'm going to come and I'm going to right click on that and say set as default subtype. So that's been set up in that fashion. So again, you're going to take a little more time, right? There's a whole bunch more things to do here, but at least we got you started so you can back up through the video and see how that's done. And then we're going to move to the next section, which will be creating relationships within our objects. Once again, don't forget to save so all the changes are applied. So see you in the next